where we're enticing you to, of course, uplift and empower people this afternoon. And we're going to be profiling a very strong individual. She's absolutely amazing, done a lot of community work. Let me tell you a little bit about her. Shahida Kazi. She's a community activist. She has been one for many years, involved with the Nirvana High for senior citizens, managed and facilitated the development of recruitment of professional and qualified staff members, continuous training and development of staff members, reviving the outpatient treatment program, and of course opening up a service center in Orange Farm. And this is for Nishtara Lodge. She is, of course, the director at Nishtara Recovery and Wellness Center. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Thank you so much for joining me this afternoon on the Nafeesa Dangor show. It's such an honor to have you on, Sister Shahida.
Thank you. Jazakallah so much, Nafeesa. I'm actually humbled.
I think the pleasure is ours. It's so nice to see people like you, spending so many years involved in nothing but just upliftment. And it's so inspiring. I think it entices us into a space to be able to also want to go out there and make a difference in some way. But let's talk a little bit about Nishtara Recovery and Wellness Center. I know you a registered treatment facility in the south of Johannesburg, rendering treatment for the rehabilitation of alcohol, drug and other addictions, and of course, education and prevention services. And in addition to that, the Lenasia clinics, Nishtara operates as an outpatient treatment facility in Orange Farm as well.
That's right.
Now, I'd like to firstly, before you even get into this, congratulate you for an amazing 30 years. You've spent 30 years in giving back, uplifting, and of course, changing people's lives for the better.
Nafeesa, yes, Jazakallah, but just a small credit. 30 years are attributed to Nishtara, the organization.
Yes.
I think my part in it was for the past 10 years. But although I must say that the last 10 years were very instrumental in enhancing and developing Nishtara to a great level.
Yes, and I'm sure it feels like those valuable 30 years being there, knowing that you've gone that extra mile to be able to change someone's life for the better.
Yes, and I think we must always appreciate the foresight that our pioneer members had of starting a service such as this in Lenasia 30 years ago. I think that's totally taboo to think of even doing something like it because people, the level of stigmatization was so deep at that time. And
Most
for
definitely.
them to have had the foresight to start something and to continue with it, to persevere through all the challenges, and I think to see how much needed the service is today.
Yes,
I think
most
we do
definitely.
appreciate and honor the pioneers.
Yeah, I mean, we really need to commend them because the type of, challenges they faced were not easy ones. And as you're saying, when it comes to substance abuse, it's such a taboo subject where communities are actually afraid to come out into the open and get help for those dear and loved ones that are involved with this type of thing. And I think it's very important to make them understand that there is a support structure out there. And you've been, the company itself, like I say, 30 years down the road, has been an amazing support structure to the community to be able to get these people in there and, of course, change their lives for nothing but the better.
Yeah, and I think that's just what we need to encourage more and more people to come and make use of the service because it's easier and we do need it. There's no getaway about it. Substance abuse is there, it's alive and well, and it's kicking in our community. And it's destroying and it's the most destructive form of social ill that we have today. People really need to just brace ourselves, face up to it, accept that there is a problem and it's a disease, it's not a shame. So we need to make use of the resources that are there.
And definitely a brilliant resource. Pen out this journey for us about Nishtara Recovery and Wellness Center. I mean, it's an amazing 30-year journey.
But like I said, we're basically, this organization was started 30 years ago. I think the service, it was the aftermath of some tragic circumstances. If you remember the late founder member, Mr. Musa Teva, may Allah grant him Jannah.
Inshallah.
It was through tragic circumstances, personal circumstances suffered by himself, that he started the service as a way. And when I talk of someone being resilient, I think that was him. Because instead of just curling up and dying because he's had such tragic loss, he actually rose from this and he started giving back to the community just to prevent another tragedy like he suffered.
And that's such a
Uh,
selfless act because, I mean, to be able to go through that and realize what others are going through and then getting
yeah,
involved in changing it so that they don't go through the same thing says a lot about the gentleman himself. Because the
and
thing
not
is,
feel sorry for yourself, but rather
exactly,
look at how you can help other people.
most
That is
definitely.
selflessness indeed, yeah.
That's so true. So pen this
And
journey out to me. Where I'm so interested in wanting to know, the journeys that you've been going through and the types of people you've helped. These reality stories actually encourage others to be able to get themselves out of the rut that they're in.
yeah, sure. Like I said, when it started at that time, it was on an outpatient basis, and I think they thrived. It was in the era of apartheid, where such services were very blatantly disregarded for communities such as ours. But they persevered and they carried on. And finally, I think in 2007, they realized their dream of starting an inpatient center, which is the present Nishtara clinic where we are now.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, it was 2007. I came into Nishtara in 2011,
Mm-hmm.
at the beginning of 2011. Yeah, it's almost 10 years now that I'm here at Nishtara. And we realized that the community, unfortunately, at that time, our local community, were not utilizing the services. People were coming. You had to actually look for people to come from far and wide to come and use the service that was right here in your community.
Mm.
And we realized the stigmatization issue and that people were just not ready to come out and say it. It was really narrow-mindedness, ignorance, regarding the issue, and that people just kept it to themselves. There were so many people suffering from addiction, so many lives that were lost, so many families that were destroyed, but people still just kept it within their family if someone had. So the easiest thing in our community at the time was, if your son had a problem with drug addiction or something, you either just sent him away for 3 months, bring him back, get him married, and think that he's going to get responsible now because he's married.
Mm-hmm.
What we didn't realize was that we were actually exacerbating the problem, because now you've got a son that's in addiction, he's married, he brings his spouse in, so it's either the problem continues and the spouse gets involved because she's then coerced to even do what they've been doing. And it's just a whole ripple of effect. The children become affected. Everybody in this family becomes affected, and beyond. It goes into the community.
Yeah, I so agree with you. And that's what I always say when it comes to this particular situation or any situation. When when one person is affected, people don't realize that it's an entire family that gets affected by these types of situations, and the entire family goes into disarray. And then it's a situation where you don't even know where to pick up the pieces.
Exactly. And we had to do a lot of work, Nafeesa, believe me, especially in changing mindsets and getting people to understand that you can't write off an addict, you can't judge people, you can't just disregard them, because believe you me, and this is my thing, that nobody ever wakes up one day and decides, today I'm going to become an addict. There's always circumstances that have led to it. And I think in our communities, especially the moral fiber, we've lost. It's how we bring our children up, where we say that, we didn't have it when we were small, so we make life easy for our children. Everything is found, and the way we just give to the kids, because we don't ourselves have time to spend time with the children.
Right.
So the easiest is to give them material things, keep them busy. They want to go out, let them go out, as long as we have our time and we're busy with something else. The family fiber is actually lost. So we don't do things together. We leave kids to their own devices. Whatever trauma they have or whatever challenges they're facing, they have to deal with it on their own. And it's so easy for everyone to become a potential addict, because we as family, parents, are not so aware of what the signs and symptoms are, or the dangers that can lead up to addiction.
I so agree with you. And, you were talking about the educational part, and I think that is really imperative that people understand that. It's having to educate them and make them understand the situation they're in, that there are support structures like yourself out there. There's backbones and spines that can help you to be able to, get out of the situation and help that particular person in your family overcome it. But having to educate them, I think, is important. And they also need to know also what to look out for coming to a person that is, involved with substance abuse as such.
Yeah, no, definitely. Education is very key, and that's why we have our outreach program that we run. We have volunteers going out, coaches going out into schools on a daily basis. So we do mass-based education as well, but we're focusing on modular programs where we teach life skills. Simply
Right.
through life skills that becomes a prevention tool. So we try to keep children away from addiction or from substance abuse and help them to learn to deal with peer pressure, anger management, assertiveness, all these simple life skills that you're supposed to be learning in your life orientation classes. We're running them on a daily basis in various schools. We also do education for teachers and parents where we run workshops to educate them and to look out for signs and symptoms, what to do, the different types of drugs, all that. I think today with the state the substance abuse has in our communities, we all have to be hands-on and we need to learn. The drugs are changing every day.
That is so
So
true.
we need to be, as parents, as community members, as family, we need to be on track and just learn everything that we can about drugs.
And it's so nice to see that you have these support groups for the family and the loved ones as well. So they also know how to deal with the situation they're in. Because a lot of the times you find that they're in the situation where, of course, the particular person is getting help from a center as such, but the people in the family themselves are so affected and they're not getting that support structure as such. And
Yeah.
I see that you're reaching out to them as well, which I think is phenomenal.
Yeah, no, definitely, Nafeesa. What we've learned is recovery is a holistic process. And I think you must remember all this comes from trial and error and that we've learned as we've been going along. We cannot just recover the person who's addicted because when he or she goes back into the same environment, the people around there are still looking at you like you were an addict.
Right.
The trust is broken. You have to reintegrate again. Nobody trusts you, first of all. Nobody knows how to deal with you. Most of the time, they walk around eggshells because they're scared. You might just trip or you might go off. And the family participation is very, very crucial. So in our program, and I think that's where we stand apart from other rehabs, the family participation is compulsory. You actually sign a contract. If you bring your loved one in here, we will not deal with him alone or her alone.
Right.
And if you don't participate, we can even discharge your loved one because you have to, it's compulsory. You need the education. You need to know how to deal with them, to help them. You have to walk this journey of recovery with them. But most importantly, you as a family also need to heal because you've been affected by it terribly. I mean, if you look at the mothers and the parents that come in here, the spouses that come in here, they are broken already because it's not an easy problem, easy issue to deal with someone that's in addiction, especially if they're craving or if they don't have their next fix. They are very, very destructive. Emotionally,
And I think
physically,
our
mentally.
communities also need to start learning to be able to create the support structures for each other instead of breaking each other down. And one thing I've noticed when it comes to substance abuse is a lot of the people get labeled. And I think that labeling is the biggest problem in our community at the moment.
The stigma is, Nafeesa, definitely I agree with you. But like I said, it's a slow process. We're seeing a little bit of headway coming through now because now you see people coming out. I think people have reached a point of helplessness or just hopelessness now that they don't even know what to do anymore.
Right.
They've been through so much abuse with their loved one. Because let me tell you, when their child can be the most angelic child that you can have, but when they need a fix or when they're not getting things, or if they are even in withdrawal stage, you don't know how destructive and how terrible, and they can harm you. And the next minute, they're the most loving people again. So you as a family also are faced with all this, and you have also been damaged, so you need to heal as well. And our support structures for the families is basically, it's compulsory for you if your loved one is in our facility, but it's open to anybody. Anybody that has a problem is welcome to join our support structure. You don't have to have somebody in here.
And I love it because the thing is, it's also, subsidized as such. So people that can't afford it still get, access to treatment. And I think that's very important because a lot of the time people use that as an excuse not to be able to get that treatment that they require.
Yeah, look, at addiction recovery is a very expensive process. It is costly. And our support structures, that is our family support, our education that we do in the schools, our aftercare that we run, it's all for free. We don't charge for any of those. the cost comes into effect as a treatment. But from the Department of Social Development, we have 10 beds every 6 weeks that are subsidized.
Right.
So we encourage people to make use of this. There is a process to qualify for those beds. Of course, you have to be committed. You have to know that this is what you want, recovery. But obviously, people can RHT, refuse treatment while they're in the process. They adult, they have a right to do that. But we're encouraging people to make use of the subsidized program because it is there. Use the resource. Recovery is very expensive, and I think if you just look at the cost wise also, we're still the cheapest rehab if you have the funds to pay for it. We are covered by all medical aids, but if you go, like people are charging like 50, 60,000 rand just for a 3-week program and a month's program.
Sure.
It is a costly affair.
Most definitely. What about, let's talk about your outpatient treatment facility in Orange Farm. Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, the outpatient treatment facility was also started 10 years ago. In fact, that was one of my first projects when I just came in here, and I just heard from the department that they had funded money for that, and that project had to be up within 2 weeks or something. So we did manage to get it off the ground, but it's still running very well. It's grown in leaps and bounds. The demand for treatment for services in that area is just phenomenal. But unfortunately, outpatient it's not feasible for an environment such as that because Niaupe is the main drug being used, and everybody knows with Niaupe users you need to have intensive treatment. It can't be on an outpatient basis. So we are busy lobbying with the department and hoping that somebody will read our call that we can set up an inpatient center in Orange Farm because it really doesn't do justice with an outpatient program. It's difficult. You come in for your sessions, you do your therapy, you get your medication, whatever, but then you go back out into the same environment where the triggers are all in your face.
No, I so understand what you're saying because the thing is, it's so rife in those areas and there's just no avoiding it.
You see, and it's got to be a process. Like if you look at the inpatient program, we bring you in for a period of 6 weeks. You stay in the facility for 6 weeks. We run a very intense program here. It's structured, so we deal with whatever whatever needs to be addressed. And after 6 weeks, then we put you into what we call the aftercare. So the reintegration is on a slow basis. You understand? You have to reintegrate. You can't be sitting in a safe environment all the time and not knowing. So when you go out after 6 weeks, you're well equipped in terms of the tools that are given to you. You're empowered to deal with your triggers. They can be slip up. Remember, relapse is part of recovery. Sometimes you just cannot do it, but we are just a phone call away if you do it. And then we have the aftercare program, which is a compulsory aspect of our treatment program. So important for us that we make it compulsory for the first 6 to 12 months. You have to attend every week without fail because that is your support structure.
I think that's an amazing support structure because what happens is a lot of the times you find that people go out there and they relapse, and this support structure actually helps them to prevent that.
Because they don't have anything to fall back on.
Yes.
You remember, recovery, it becomes like a chronic ailment. So just like you need your medication for your hypertension and your diabetes that you need for a lifelong thing, your aftercare becomes your maintenance for the rest of your life.
That is so aptly put.
Because relapse can happen even many, many years into recovery later. Relapse can happen.
Yes, I
but
agree.
you need that aftercare. And our aftercare is also a structured program. We run it every second. And we're very strict with it. So you sign a contract for that as well. And the consequences for non-compliance or whatever is not punitive, but it's developmental. So if you're not making it in aftercare, put you back into an outpatient program. We look at whether you need a booster, whether you're not coping, you need to come back in maybe, or you need more sessions or something like that. So you have that support for the rest of your recovery. But we have people that are 5 years plus clean already that are still making use of the aftercare. Because sometimes or the other you will need that support.
Yes.
And I think at this point, I know it's like blowing our trumpet, but I'm so proud to say that I think Nishtara has been commended by the Department of Social Development as running the best aftercare program. We've managed to sustain it, to keep people that are 5 years and more clean, still in touch with your center.
It's so nice to
It's
see
a
you've
feat.
taken the words out of my mouth. I
Yeah,
was
it's a
just
feat.
about to commend you on the phenomenal work that you've done. I mean, as a holistic company for so many years, but your involvement with it for that many years. And of course, you've taken an award for that as well.
Yeah, sorry for the aftercare.
Yes, I mean, and
Yes,
it's so amazing to see that because that already on its own speaks for itself to say that people are recognizing the type of amazing work that you're doing as a company and, of course, as an individual, helping to create this support structure for citizens out there that are going through such serious substance abuse issues. And what I found phenomenal also about what you're doing is the life skills training. It's so nice to see that you try and integrate them back into society with something that they can take back for
yes.
themselves and empower themselves in some way.
Yeah, there's a lot of work still to be done on that front, Nafeesa, I'll be honest with you, because, and that is what we're lobbying for, is also an infrastructure after treatment, where people can go. We need to have some sort of halfway house that we are trying to set up, where when people exit from the program, they can go in there while they're being upskilled to reintegrate them back into society and to normalcy again.
Yes, most
And
definitely.
unfortunately, you know, with government and how the wheels of government turn so slowly, and to try and get people to understand, because at the moment when the focus is only on rehabilitation, people just look at rehabilitation because it's a scorecasting and you need to get as many people rehabilitated. They're not looking at the bigger picture after that. What happens? It's got to be long term. Recovery has to be long term. It's not just turning out numbers. And I think that when Nishtara, we stand out because we don't look at people as coming here statistics. Agreed, we have a target to meet every year in terms of the funding that we're receiving from the department. But for us, every person is an individual. It's a life that we have to make an impact on. And we take things very personally. Sometimes our staff that is so compassionate and committed to this, we have to have people who have a passion for this. We sometimes take things too personally. We make sure that we are going to make an impact on people's lives. We look at them as human beings and as lives when they come in. So the number of people that come into our program and go out, we have surpassed our targets a long time ago. Where we measure our successes of the number of people we are retaining in the aftercare.
So,
The
Shahida,
people
you
that
know
stay in aftercare.
what I love about what you're doing as well, which really stood out for me, is that you're starting at the bottom of the level, which is, of course, in the schools. And I think that is imperative. Going to the schools and, of course, educating the kids about substance abuse and what it does for you. I think it's imperative because what is happening is in a lot of instances, you find that that's where the hub of the problem starts.
Yeah, it's actually it's the cause, not the symptoms that we have to look at.
Yes.
And even when people come into recovery, we can't just treat the symptoms. That is easier because we can treat you, we can get the substance out of your body, we can detox you, we can listen you, and we have treated the symptoms and you're clean. But at that stage, we are what you call a sober addict. You are sober, yes, but you're still an addict because your behavior and your mindset, your behavior is still there. All addictive behaviors are still in place. So that is what we need to change. And our focus is on that behavior and mindset change. So you don't go back. You're not just a sober addict, but you change holistically. You have to change your play areas, your play things, your playmates, all that in your behavior and your thinking has to change.
I so agree
with you. It's a challenge. It's a major challenge. And it's not easy dealing with that or getting people because nobody can change overnight. Change, as you know, is very difficult for anybody.
It's a gradual change.
But
and I think
your
with this,
mindset
it's very
and
difficult.
your behavior.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's so nice to see that you've gone out there that extra mile, and as I said, I think it's imperative that this gets inculcated in the schools as part of the curriculum because what is happening is a lot of the times you find even little kids are now, of course, abusing these substances, and it's very scary because it's starting
younger and younger.
Exactly. Yes,
we even had a 7-year-old that's been using glue.
Sure, that's really scary. Hey, but what message would you like to leave our viewers and listeners with this afternoon?
I think for everybody out there, let's just accept the fact that substance abuse is a disease. It is here. It prevails in almost every home, or it will. There is potential for it in almost every home. So let us look at rather creating more healthy lifestyles for our children, for our loved ones, But also remember there are resources available. If there is anybody out there that needs help, Nishtara is here. We're just a phone call away. We're situated in Extension 9 in Lenasia. It's easy to find, and we are here to support. Even if you don't want to come into the program now, you don't have, but as a parent also, if you feel you need assistance or whatever, our family support is out there. So please feel free to join us or to reach out to help. We're here to help.
And I think also what we'd like to leave our listeners with this afternoon, it's imperative to get involved with your kids, when you come home from work and understand what they've done for the day and communicate with them. It's all about listening, because I think this is where the biggest issues are coming in, is the communication issue, where kids come home and their parents are so busy, like you're saying, with their lifestyles and the things that they're doing, and having had a busy day. It's important to be able to tap into what they've done for the day and what matters for them, to be able to direct them in the right way.
Yes. And I think, Nafeesa, at this point also I would like to share with your listeners out there also that we have what we call a TDP program. It's a team development program.
Right.
We run this group every Friday afternoon. So whether your child is in addiction or is just experimenting or is facing peer pressure or something, please get them to join. It's also a life skills program that we run. So it's a free group. It's every afternoon from 2:30 to 4 o'clock here at Nishtara.
Mm-hmm.
And it's well empowering, because we understand parents, not all parents have the time or luxury of time to spend with children. But if you can enroll them into this program, at least you know your child is being equipped with the tools to either be assertive, to reject the peer pressure, to know how to deal with it, and to reject the triggers that are prevail outside.
Most definitely. We want to thank you so much. But before we go, we would like to, on behalf of the Salam Media team, commend yourself and, of course, the entire team for what you have done thus far for the communities of Lenasia and, of course, all the surrounding areas, by uplifting, empowering, and changing lives for nothing but the better. So thank you so much for joining us in a very inspirational afternoon. And we want to, of course, leave you with the word, just keep giving back, because you've been doing such phenomenal work. Congratulations. We really need to do a great shout out for yourself and the team. So thank you for joining us and taking the time out to share your words of inspiration to others regarding this very serious issue.
No, thank you so much, Zakla, for this opportunity. So at least we want to use as much opportunity to let people know that we are here and to come. And people can reach out to us. We are available. But thank you so much.
Most definitely. Allah reward you in many directions for all the wonderful
Ameen,
work
and make
that you've
dua
done.
that we continue.
Ameen.
That we can help as many people as possible.
Thank you so much. You take care of yourself, and we wish you nothing but the best of success going forward. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. What an inspirational lady, Sister Shahida Kazi from, of course, the Nishtara Foundation. And they're doing such amazing work there. The Wellness Center, of course, giving back in many directions to uplift the communities and overcome the issues of substance abuse. We're going to go for a quick break. Stay with us. We will be back with Sister Atia Ganchi from the Balloon Foundation.
Salam Media, a global voice for humanity.